Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me for another session of a Zoom into wine. My name is Ian Blackburn, and I want to thank you for joining me as we explore the world of wine together and talk about some really different stuff every week. Every Wednesday at 7 o'clock, right here at Zoom into Wine, whether you're watching us on Facebook or you're watching us on the Zoom product, we want to get great people together. Some topics are really big and popular, and we have large audiences. And then we have topics like tonight, where we're going to explore something a little avant-garde and something that maybe we're going to introduce you to for the first time. And maybe a positive experience, maybe something that you'll have to think about for a little while. Sherry is our topic tonight. We're going to go to the south of Spain, and I have a fun little story just to kind of intro us into the topic, because I think, unless you're exposed to sherry the right way, you can have a pretty off experience that will forever kind of set you back and maybe turn you off to the wine. But I think if you put it in context and you understand the history that's involved and how important these wines are to wine, to civilization, to cuisine, and also, I would always recommend that you go to the south of Spain, where Jerez, the region that this wine comes from, is all about the discovery of these wines. Now, sherry, and I'm going to speak in very general terms and move along fairly quickly here. So there's just a lot of nuance that a masterclass of several hours could be engaging. But basically, sherry was one of the earliest products available. And before there were fancy bartenders with advanced, knowledge of so many different products and mixology, the drinks, cocktails themselves were actually made from sherry wine. One of the most famous drinks is a sherry cobbler. And this category was kind of the wine that achieved world status in a time where things weren't being so meticulously made and things needed to have shelf life. And they really made this with some amazing ingenuity and characteristics. And I think it is one of the most interesting wines on the planet. And I will say, if you can get close to this wine and find some pleasure, it can really be quite mind expanding in your appreciation of all wines, because there are sherry notes in a lot of wines. And that's also something to gain from tonight's expression and conversation. It's just an appreciation of this wine category. So good to see some of you again. It's been a few weeks that I've been away, been able to travel, come back, catch a cold, recover, back in the saddle, and feeling okay. Gary, are you feeling all right? I hope so.
Yeah, I'm doing fine.
No cold for you?
Nope.
Good. Well, let's go right into our presentation and check it out. Here is our subject tonight. This is a really nice homage to the history of sherry wine. And we'll cover this in some detail here. Before I go down the path, I was looking for some articles, maybe a video that could help, picture says a million words type of stuff. But in general, sherry is made in a couple different styles. And the grape variety that we're going to talk about tonight is Palomino. They can make a sweeter, darker, richer style of sherry. called Pedro Jimenez, which is a totally different angle. And made with residual sugar, made from raisins and prune type of fruit. I mean, it is really advanced and beautiful in its own way. Almost nothing to do with the wines made from Palomino. So the only thing they have in common is they're both made in the same general area. Now, this sherry wine is fortified, and then this yeast rises to the top of the wine in the barrel, and it creates a protective blanket. Now, then the barrels continue to age and evaporate right on the ocean, the salt air. You've got all of this super salty fish kind of stuff coming into the ports of Jerez, and the sailors and everything in the marketplaces would make a wine to kind of accent and improve and the quality of this fish and this marketplace and the cuisine of this area. So the first level is a sherry wine called Fino. It is underneath the protective blanket. It tends to be very clear, very fresh, sizzling in acidity, focused, and fairly fragile. Open, drink quickly, does not age. Fino sherry. It's an acquired taste. I would say if you like salted nuts, this is something to continue the conversation. Very nutty, very, very interesting, very sherried nose. And there's an oxidative characteristic to these wines that can really set people back, like I said. So I want to set the stage, kind of desensitize you a little bit to allow these unique aromatics to come in and kind of bring a smile to your face, because there's something so umami and so lovely about the smell of this salty green olive type of an experience. If maybe you like a martini with a little dirty with some olives, that's kind of the zone that these wines are in. So put your mindset in there and note that Fino is the driest and the crispest, and I won't say fresh because it is still got some age to it, but they don't let it see much oxygen. It sits underneath the blanket, it goes into the bottle. And all these wines, by the way, are bottled from what's called a Solera. And the great thing about the brand that we're going to taste tonight is really trying to go back and resurrect some of the ancient traditions of this area and give homage to the way these wines were made for hundreds of years. Now, this industry kind of collapsed, and so there are still barrels and barrels of sherry that are now traded amongst the few remaining sherry producers and bottlers. And they just think of themselves as kind of custodians, where they get these older sherries and they take them and add them to their Solera, maybe even bottle down single barrels of sherry. There's all kinds of things happening. There's these auctions and things that set the prices. But to continue the conversation about the styles, we started talking about Fino, and the style that we're going to taste tonight is called Manzanilla. And this Manzanilla is famous to the coastal town of Sanlúcar, which is just it's just outside of the Jerez zone. And here the wines spend a little time underneath the blanket and pick up, and I say the blanket, it literally looks like a blanket of yeast, and they pick up this kind of advanced character, and the very salty, and that's one of the distinguishing marks of a Manzanilla Sanlúcar de Barrameda. And so this Manzanilla that we're going to try tonight is even more advanced than that, because I picked it up a little while back. It was actually bottled in 2016. So now you've got a Manzanilla style that's been bottled for a couple, 7 years, and is approaching an Amontillado in style, which is more advanced, a little more oxidized, a little more nuttiness. I'm not sure, if we had the current bottling and maybe another producer's Amontillado next to each other, that this is quite as dark as some Amontillados, but Amontillado can be a little even higher in alcohol. It has a little bit more body. I'd say this is a little more cool. It's just like a Manzanilla plus plus. I don't think that this wine is aged out at all. I think this wine has really just picked up a lot more nuance and character. I think the packaging is really cute. Did I show this off yet? The bottle looks nice in the picture, but I'm going to take my little background off. So you can see, there's a little bottle, and it's got lots of little detail. Even comes in a fancy box. Look at the face on that box. Doesn't that just make you want to drink some sherry? So this is there's a lot of homage references in this packaging, in the style of the label and everything. This brand's not that old, but is very homage oriented, but doing things in a very ancient way. So let's go deeper into our slideshow and talk about the product that we're tasting tonight. And again, sherry is fortified, it's Palomino, and there's different types of sherry. There's cooking sherry. Do not confuse that with what we're tasting tonight. This is from Jerez, near Sevilla, near Cadiz. And it is the kind of the mispronunciation of Jerez that gave us the word sherry to begin with. So this is the style of wine that was made in this port city. I know at the beginning of the show, I was talking about my little fun story is that I actually went here kind of on a pilgrimage to learn about Spanish wines. I went by myself. I wanted to enjoy the downtime and kind of get to know the land and not be in a hurry. And I would travel. I'd stay in some really inexpensive places way outside of town, and then a couple, nights every once in a while, I would treat myself to a nice hotel. But I got to Jerez right before a very big holiday, Easter, which they call Semana Santa, and I had no idea. No one warned me or gave me any heads up that basically everything in Jerez closes for a week before and a week after. So I sat there trying to learn about sherry without being able to go anywhere because everything was closed. The restaurants were open, but there just wasn't a chance to go to a wine producer or anything. So I just walked all over the town, all over the city, met the people, just kind of like a fly in the corner, just sat and watched and admired. And I loved it. I loved the food. I loved the ambiance. It's got so much charm. And every day I would order a couple glasses of sherry and go and read my books and try to figure them out. I finally did end up getting into a sherry house that allowed me to see their stocks, but there wasn't anybody official there to give me a tour. It looks a lot like what we're about to see, so we'll go into that now. But Bodegas Yuste was founded by Francisco Paco Yuste in 1991. So he has been in the business of beverage for a long time. This is an old producing facility, but it was basically not in operation, and he brought it back to life. 46 hectares of vineyard, which that's a pretty sizable plot of land. And you can see those real unique soils, just almost completely devoid of nutrition, really create some very unique characteristics for the Palomino grape variety that thrive inside of these rocky minerally soils. And here is the look at the Shea or the Bodega, where these large port style pipes that are used for aging sherry, and they lay down on their side, and there's this like oxidative characteristic. The wine evaporates through the wood, leaves a little space between the wine and the top of the barrel. Over time, that continues to increase, and this fleur of yeast rises to the top and kind of protects these wines. Now, sometimes that fleur blanket breaks, and that's when they start developing the more advanced nuances, nuttier, darker colors, oxidation. And that's what they'll take those barrels and put them into a different Solera. They'll keep the ones that do have the alive yeast blanket on top in the Solera, just focused on the fresher, brighter style of sherries. And then there's things that happen in between, and that's why we have the different styles of sherry. So let's take a look the outside of the bodega here. And this is the great room of sherry barrels that kind of give you an idea. Pretty quiet. They lay there sleeping, oxidizing, and that is just liquid money right there. And time is needed to create these beautiful wines. And let's take a look at the wine that we have tonight. Again, it's a Manzanilla Passata. And when we pour it into the glass, don't even need that much quantity. It's such a sensory driven product. I just really love to put it in a nice small compressed glass like I have here. Put that up to my nose. You get this really salty, my saliva gland is going crazy when I smell this sherry, this Manzanilla. You get these like almonds and dried hamon and saltiness. There's also that kind of connection to like something, some wines, some parts of the world, fight to have these kind of sherried aromas. It's kind of something that maybe you have to be able to embrace. I will say that this is kind of tender, as I discussed earlier. The wines of Saint Lucar have kind of a softer, more approachable style to them, so they can get a little bit even more aggressive. But here it's really pretty. And as you sip that sherried, oxidized, yeasty, sea breezes, saline touches, oxidized is, I'm going to say that 15 times here, mineral, complexed. There is a little bit of a butteriness in the mouth, a little fullness in the mouth. You can smell it and you almost expect it to like hurt. Like when you put it in your mouth, you're like a little apprehensive. That nose is pretty out there, and then you taste it and it's very calming and yeah, almost like having, nuts with salts and um, a very unique and kind of calming introspective type of beverage, just sitting around and contemplating what's going on. How did this get here? What is happening here? We're looking at 15.5 alcohol. The average age of the wine that went in the bottle is about 7 years old. So now by the time we're tasting it here, we're looking at almost 20-year-old wines that have been protected by the bottle for 7 years, in the wood barrel for an average of about 12. And it's a really unique category. When I go out to Spanish style restaurant, they may have a selection of sherries. They typically require a sherry expert to be able to sell them. You don't see them on a lot of wine lists, but sitting in Jerez, I will say that you're going to get some Marcona almonds. You're going to get some little tapa style foods with, boy, they can really, there are some Spanish mackerel that will knock you back how pungent some of those fish could be. This is nothing. This is like a nice way to kind of set yourself up for success with some pretty extravagant, aromatic type of things that can happen in the cuisine of southern Spain. They often use a lot of different egg type of influence as well. Egg and shrimp, egg and ham, potentially cheeses, white cheeses, certainly some manchego. There'll be nuts themselves added to the little tapas, like little pieces of bread, just with different little things all over. You might walk into a little restaurant that has like full window of different things that you can select. One of those, one of those, one of those, one of those. Or maybe it's a sit-down restaurant where they'll bring a selection. Might have a fish salad or a fish melody, like a ceviche on a piece of toasted bread. And this is the type of wine that you would probably want to have with that type of selection. Now the cork on this bottle is kind of decorative and kind of cool. It looks pretty nice. You're able to pull that out, put it back in the bottle and protect this. Once open though, I think it's, you're going to have a window of time to drink and enjoy this without it continuing to advance. This in this package here hasn't seen much oxygen at all, but I wouldn't want it to get beyond too much further. Once opened, I'd say 1 to 2 weeks you want to drink this. And I would say smell is probably what I would spend a long time drinking a full glass of this. It's really something just to sit around and smell. And again, if you have the right foods with you, it really, really works. This is so much softer and more gentle than some of the other sherries, but we do have a really fun selection of sherries on our website. And if you can get into them, they can really be profound and cool and interesting. And I'm also going to just kind of lean into the fact that this bottle of wine should be closer to $40. We have it at a great price, approximately $20 for this producer. I bought this in the pandemic. I was able to pick it up from a small importer. Just they were clearing it out, and it's a really nice little wine. Every bottle has a date that it was bottled on, and just really authentic, delicious, manzanilla. This is just another look at the land and what these vines kind of go through. That ocean is super influential in the growing and the way this wine presents itself. Those barrel rooms, storage facilities are right there in the harbors, and pick up the oxygen, the air, the salt air of that seaside town. And the ownership is really dedicated to kind of preserving the history and bringing this category back to life. And there's a number of small producers that have done that, and it's kind of cool. If any of you have the wine and want to make any comments about it, I'd love to hear what you have to say. There was a chat that I didn't get to. I just tried to open it. It looked like it disappeared.
It was from me. So is it like ports more of after dinner, but it sounds like you would have this alongside dinner. You would, but
Yeah, this is absolutely something you could start with. You could I'd say that you could also like find people drinking this all day long. This is
but sips, obviously, because it's really, it's
Yeah.
not a day drinking. It's not like, perhaps my day drinking wines.
you
You
know
can't have a full glass, could you?
the hardcore of the southern part of Spain are probably sitting there at 2 in the afternoon having an afternoon cocktail, a
Hmm.
sherry, having some nuts and
Okay.
tapas, and I think that they may continue to enjoy this throughout the entire.
Quite happy.
Yeah.
All right.
It's also something that I learned to love this product because I took it with me on a little camping trip, and we started tasting it in the early evening, and by like midnight that night we're all talking about how we're sad that we're running out of that sherry, because it created a lot of conversation, and it's not something you drink with speed.
Right.
You sit around and think
Savor
about
it.
or
Yeah.
savor it. Yeah. And no, if there's no limit to type of food that you could embrace with this, from just simply cutting up cheese, a cheese board, charcuterie board, but you can get into more interesting things, chicken with capers, and I'm sure if you're a sherry fan, you could have it with just about anything, just like in champagne you can have with just about anything. Same thing, but it's a very different experience.
Okay. That helps.
Yeah.
That helps. All right, Gary, you have it. What do you think?
I'm still getting used to it.
Yeah, it is. And have you had sherry before, Gary?
No.
Yeah, and
No.
this could be a real shocker. And but I'm glad you gave it a shot, because it is an area that can really help develop your palate, and giving you something so extreme, because sometimes we'll pick up a wine and we'll smell it and we'll say, I smell some sherry aromas, and a small amount of that some people actually really enjoy. A large amount of that can lead you to think there might be something, some sort of issue with the wine itself. And that's where sherry has a hard time sometimes, because I think people smell sherry and they're like, I've been taught that some of those smells aren't exactly what I'm supposed to be looking for, and it can kind of throw your sensory into I was trained that this is bad. Why are you giving this to me? The salinity, that nuttiness, that creaminess in the mouth. It's pretty fun. And I hope that you have a chance to try it with some great cuisine and put it in the right context. But this is pretty damn good. I will tell you too. I bought it a couple years ago. I tasted it on opening when I got it, I received it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's Manzanilla sherry right there. And I bought a lot of it because it was quite a good deal. That's why I'm able to offer a good deal today. And so I'm down to maybe my last 6-8 bottles after doing this Zoom. But I'll be looking for a new Manzanilla when this one's gone. But I actually am selling a surprising amount of sherry wine. And some of you may have actually joined us for our sherry presentation a while back. We had an actual sherry importer join us from Yuste. And I'm going to share with you on my website where the sherries are located. But here's the bottle if you want to purchase some. It's a nice little gift too. And a very cute package. And you just might need to find out if the person enjoys sherry or not, because this is such a unique experience. All right, let's go up here. I click on that little search bar. I put in sherry, and up will come our selection, which is mostly Yuste because of the quality of Yuste's brand, and they're one of these brands that were set up to basically acquire the older sherries and to have experts, existing experts, kind of come together to really package some beautiful aged sherries. You can see by the scores and the different styles that we have, whether it's a Fino or the Pedro Jimenez or the Amontillado or the Pata de Gallina Oloroso or the Oloroso Empress Eugenia. These each have different characteristics that are achieved through time spent under and also not under the floor, and how old they are, how long they've been stored, and what they've created. And each one of them has a different story. And this one is no exception. A beautiful Manzanilla Passata. Great packaging. Probably my favorite package in all of them as well. The bottle size is about 500 ml. Oh, it's 375 actually. And like I said, you probably want to drink that in between 10 and 14 days after opening. As with most sherries, will want you to have that kind of rate of consumption. I'm sure someone would argue with me. Some of these have the ability to age quite a bit more, but that's going to be on a product by product basis.
What temperature is ideal for serving?
So Fino sherry, you tend to store in the refrigerator. This, I believe, closer to room temperature. And in the room I'm in right now, in the wine cellar, it's about 50 degrees. So it's pretty cool. But I think closer to 60 degrees is the right serving temperature, like nice cool room temperature. And if you if you err on the side of being too cool, some of those aromatics will be held back a little bit, and that can actually work in its favor. If they were too warm, it can be over expressive and not very optimal. So I would err on the cooler side. Well, Gary, I hope you enjoy the ride. Give that a nice long time, and maybe find some Marcona almonds, maybe a little Iberico ham if you could ever eat ham again. We just got back from our body weight in ham in Portugal, but you can maybe even taste and see why that would go so well with the richness of that ham, of that nuttiness of the fish, and imagine some of those flavors, and anything you would put capers and sliced almonds on, that could be a really great pairing for this particular wine, and or just a really good conversation moment. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed talking about sherry. It's certainly an adventure. It takes me right back to being there in Jerez, smelling that salty air, that sea harbor air, and remembering the people and the culture and the density of the people. We sat around in these small little restaurants with the tapas everywhere, and it was loud and active and vibrant, and you would sit there and stare at your glass of sherry and just kind of take it all in, and then if you happen to be there like I was around Semana Santa, where they were carrying around caskets, wearing black robes from floor to cover them up, with the hoodie, and they were just really like self-inflicted, painful, moments of darkness in this Semana Santa holiday, carrying around their worldly possessions in these caskets. It's
I would drink a lot of sherry with that description.
yeah,
It's the same.
it's definitely inspires consumption, and it was one of the most unique experiences I've ever seen, and the whole town was completely engaged. I mean, it is absolutely part of their it's as important a holiday as you could have. Let's put it that way. So if you're going to go to Jerez, you may want to go just to see that, or you may want to avoid that so that you can, actually partake in some of the other lifestyle activities, that because that one is so enormous. It takes over the entire holiday. I think this would be a nice wine to sit around and watch the soccer game. Gary, I don't know if you've gotten any more into soccer than I know I did. I was completely consumed with it while we were in Europe. And now that we're back, I just think that the whole context of it being, presented the way it is, the timing of the day, the world audience that it attracts, is just so fascinating. And today's game was yet another really great game to promote this game to the world. And we've got a world championship game coming together with France versus Argentina. Lisa, are you watching it at all?
I'm trying. I'm still been kind of mired in work stuff, but I have been watching it some.
Yeah, you could catch up pretty quickly with the highlights. I mean, a big scoring game, 2-0. Doesn't take long, but
No, I watched the States. I watched I watched a little bit of France last week, and I know it's on Sunday, so I'll probably watch it Sunday.
I mean, I think it's Sunday at like 4 a.m. I heard.
Oh, that's perfect, because I get up at 4. That's okay. That's great.
I heard it's very early on Sunday. So I haven't figured that out yet where what I'm gonna do about that, but
I'm sure there'll be bars that are going to be open at that hour.
yeah, that'll be a big day. Big day. Well, I hope you enjoy the manzanilla, Gary. It looks like you're giving it a real shot.
Yeah, it's much better as it warmed up. I had it too cold.
Okay. Okay,
I
cool.
had it probably starting at 40 degrees.
And do you have anything salty that you're having with it?
Nope, just by itself.
Yeah, think about some salty dish that you could
When
even
you're talking about that ham, I was thinking, man, that was salty too.
yeah, potato
Mhm.
chips, corn nuts, you name it. They can all go really well with a glass of sherry. Well, thanks for chatting with me tonight, gang. I'm glad to be back. We got a lot going on at Zoom into Wine. We're working on next year's calendar. We have a little membership drive right now. So if you join us on membership for $100, we send you a bottle of wine worth over $100. So you get your money right back. That's the annual membership program that we put together. And
That sounds good to me.
yeah, join us for that. And then take a look at the upcoming stuff that we have. We've got Stars of France next Wednesday, 6 great wines of France. And they're all really good versions of classic wines like Sancerre and Burgundy and Bordeaux and Sauternes and the Rhone, and really fun wines that we're going to be showing off, and some great personalities involved. And then we're going to take the 28th and do kind of like let's go fancy and go really ultimately high end and taste some of the best names in the business, stuff that's a little harder to get and pretty exclusive. And there's only a couple spots left. That's not going to be a huge one, but it's probably going to sell out very soon. And that's our taste of the best. And then we're kicking in to our calendar next year with some of our activities, but you can count on Zooms every Wednesday. Our first couple of weeks, we've got a little Resolve to Drink Better program that we're going to do with some really fun stuff on the first week in January. And then we've got Barolo and white truffles. I've got a lineup of Barolos that will blow you away. And the white truffle part is optional. White truffles are extremely expensive this year, so we're doing it kind of truffle optional. But you could do the whole flight of 5 different Barolos with us, which will be a lot of fun. And then we continue to push out with we're doing a really amazing Santa Barbara presentation on the 18th. The list of producers is tremendous, and that's going to be fantastic. I'm really excited about that. And we'll just see where we go from there. Lots of development taking place every single day as my team is hard at work, and we're working as hard as we can too. Just think about Merchant of Wine for any of your holiday wine needs, as we have so many wonderful gift opportunities and different things that you can share with your friends around the holiday times there. And wine is the perfect gift because it fits, and doesn't matter if you're male or female, and it doesn't matter what size you are. It's going to be it's a very good gifting opportunity. So think of us. We've got it for you. And thank you for joining us tonight. I really enjoy chatting with everybody. Gary, take care. Thank you, Lisa.
Ciao.
Thank you, Ian.
Bye.
So long.